Hello and welcome to episode 11 of The Walking Skull. I am Sean Scullion, the skull part of The Walking Skull, and that is Martin Walker, the walking part of The Walking Skull. Say hello, Martin.
Uh, uh, Hello. this. I mean, this is part of an April Fool's prank. We have done it you've done it days after that's done, and let me tell you, it's not particularly great. Plus, I'm
Oh,
not
so
really that.
you can bring a harmonica into it, and it's the godsend, but I try and do this
Listen,
funny little thing on the three people that listen to our show.
harmonicas are cool. This bit is just going to confuse people because one of them's going to be like, "Wait a minute, that could be doesn't sound fat and someone out of breath. Where's the skull part? He doesn't sound out of breath. This is bull. I tell you."
I think you're giving our listeners a bit too much credit that they can hear that you're fat.
I mean, I don't know. Audio is a very mysterious thing. I remember when we did audio stuff in college in 2020 or
Yeah,
2019.
I've done audio stuff for the last 3 years, and I've never been able to hear someone being fat.
But you, I mean, I kind of think you
I've never
should
listened to
know.
a random bit of audio and then went, "That guy's fat,"
I
or
mean,
female,
before,
or whatever other genders
I
you
mean,
can be fat.
yeah, I mean, before we go on, you could definitely tell, by the breathing, but that I don't want to sound like a terrible person. That would just be bullying. Apologies to all.
That's very much bullying because
It
they
is.
could
I'm
just
sorry.
be asthmatic or have a bad lung condition.
That is true. Oh my goodness, Sean, what is wrong with you? Yeah, I apologize
Sean's
to any
coming in with
listener.
the hot takes there, people, and I don't know why. Sean's deciding to attack fat people, asthmatics, and anyone with a lung issue whatsoever.
Hot take of the week. Lung issues make you sound like you're fat. But no,
We
I'm sorry.
apologize that if you are skinny or normal weight and
Oh
have
no.
lung issues, we're sorry that we brought it up.
Massive apologies for me. It was all from self-deprecation because I'm a
Anyway,
very insecure son of a
before
gun.
Sean digs any more of a hole, this is a show that me and Sean started going on a couple months now, where we just sort of talk about what we have watched over the last 2 to 3 weeks, depending on my work schedule and Sean's work schedule.
My lack of work schedule, but absolutely. So if you're coming here to listen to the sort of hottest debates on the policies and whatnot, not going to find it here, but you will find some honest opinions about media and maybe about some of the other things too.
And maybe you'll learn to like us, like until we actually learn to like ourselves, which is miles away.
Please like us, for the love of God. Please like us. We've been stuck in our own homes for months. Please like us.
I've not. I'm now taking down an old nunnery in my job. But other than that,
Whoa, look at you.
I should actually taking down an old nunnery sounds like a completely different thing. I should say that I work on I work on construction sites and I am doing a demolition job that involves taking removing bits off a building that was an old nunnery. I'll say
it's,
that.
it's okay, but when I have proof, you send me photos. Wait, that sounds a little bit more too anonymous, don't you think?
Where I'm having my own little the nun in real life. So
But yeah, I think last time you told me apparently you have a theory that there's a cult that was operating in that building or something. A lot of weird symbols and whatnot.
yeah, the cult of Corden, I believe is what we went for. But to my knowledge, if he's listening, Mr. Corden, I do not believe you have a cult.
Yeah, please don't smite us with your cult, Almighty Corden. That wouldn't be a good thing to happen.
So, shall we get on with it? Sean, what have you watched over the last couple of weeks that you feel is talkative about?
Well, a lot, but I think in terms to keep up with recency and whatnot, just to go on the hashtags and the trendy not what stuff. The big one I'm going to go be talking about was one that came out this past Thursday, which is the fourth installment in this MonsterVerse film series that Warner Brothers has made, starting with the 2014 Godzilla. Very underrated, by the way. It's somehow worked its way up to the fourth film, Godzilla versus Kong, which have you seen Godzilla versus Kong yet?
Not yet, no. I've been working
Right.
most of this week, but I think I said this the last time you brought up something in that way. It's weird to think that out of all the universes that companies tried to make after the MCU succeeded, the monster one's the one that's doing the best.
Like that's kind of hilarious though, because with the DCEU, that got shot that shot itself in the foot, insisted it was fine, and then when things got bad and he had to amputate the leg, they were just like, well, guess we're going to go back to the drawing board. What's next? Shazam. Cool. Take out all of the references to Justice League, and we should be fine. Keep in some
Yeah.
references to Superman, Batman though. But no Justice League whatsoever.
Or in
Um,
the cases of a quick Zack Snyder cut off there, weirdly have Mira be British in Zack Snyder's verse, but not in Aquaman's film.
shut up, just don't think about it. Just don't think about it, okay? Just shut up, don't
I
think
mean,
about
I
it.
sort of get it because she's like they're in the ocean and they don't really have a specific accent because ocean people don't really have specific accents. It was just a
And
bit off
it's
put.
it's a royal underwater empire, so I guess they're like, well, listen, hey, what's the first accent we think of royalty? The English accent. Do the English accent. Anyway, so back to Godzilla versus Kong, which is in a universe that is doing mighty more well in the Dark Universe that has since been kaput or probably still going. I don't know. We have to. I
I
probably have to look
genuinely
it up.
don't know because was
Yeah,
the Invisible Man technically part of that or no?
I think from my understanding, it's a reboot of the franchise, but they're not doing the whole like connecting story stuff. They're just going for get a director, let the director do their individual vision on this story, and then that's it. Which is a better approach than just make sure to connect the Tom Cruise mummy somehow into the Javier Bardem Frankenstein movie. Quick, we gotta make the MCU money. Anyway, so Godzilla versus Kong. So to get into the sort of details of its potential synopsis or plot, you have Godzilla. He fights King Kong. There's human stuff of King Kong and of Godzilla. They have to figure out what's going on with Zilla. He's in a bit of a bad mood. And King Kong is like in a journey of self discovery. The clash, and that's the movie. It's just two of them fighting, and it's. I gotta be honest. Knowing my tastes and how pretentious my tastes kind of get to some people, I kind of loved Godzilla versus Kong. Like, I really enjoyed it. To a almost childlike, bug-eyed, whoa, look at the big monsters fight degree. It made me feel like a 7-year-old again. I had a good time with Godzilla versus Kong. Like it was just
It does what it says on the tin.
pretty much. If you look at the title Godzilla versus Kong, you're gonna get Godzilla versus Kong. It's just a fun movie. Like genuinely, although it makes me kind of like sad, just because watching, I was at my dad's and I watched it, and we kind of commented on the fact that like the movie looks incredible, like from its cinematography and the effects and everything, and we just sort of looked back and thought, damn, that this would look amazing on the big screen. So hopefully, if the cinemas end up reopening again, I'm going to be seeing it on a big screen just because that's where it should be seen. That spectacle and scope.
That's actually something that I don't know. And you're more intertwined with the Edinburgh Film House scene, not specifically the Film House of Edinburgh, but the film houses in general.
Yeah.
Are they gonna just have play catch up and have movies out constantly, or
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not like one of the members of that sort of thing. Although it'd be quite an interesting job for sure. But I think from what I've gathered and presume, because there are other countries right now that are showing movie or that are having their cinemas opening. Like currently with Godzilla versus Kong, that's so far has been doing very well at the box office, like to a point where like it's became the highest grossing film during the pandemic, which is kind of an insane feat. And I think it's going to be a case of like a combination of catch up and just show it a combination of catch up, showing some old films because I think they did that last time when we opened the first timer and you started showing a lot of Nolan's old films, and then the third option being that they're going to have some of the newer ones coming out because there's some Oscar nominees like The Father that are like not opening until June, which is quite a long way away, but that's fine. But anyway, to sort of like make sure you're getting your movie seen in a cinema, that's cool. And yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on right now. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that the different cinemas started showing stuff like Minari and Judas and the Black Messiah in their cinemas at some point,
Mhm.
just because like they're out, they're there, they probably have the codes, and they'll be like, hey, let's show those. People like them so far. They're pretty cool. But
Fair enough.
yeah,
What are the just because I've not seen the film, I'm
yeah.
not really that bothered about it, so feel free to spoil it.
Okay.
What are the humans actually doing in this? Because in the last one, in Gods and Monsters, all they really did was help Godzilla wake back up again.
Hmm.
And then in the first one, well, Kong Skull Island's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Obviously.
like that's part of the yeah, that was like the second installment in the overall MonsterVerse.
So in the second one, the humans were tricked into coming in to research him, but actually they thought they were coming in to pick someone up. And then
Hmm.
in the first Godzilla one, the humans really didn't do that much. So what are the humans
Yeah.
doing this time?
Oh, okay. Well, before I continue, vague spoilers for those who have not seen Kong versus Zilla. Although I don't think it particularly matters, cause well, it's giant lizard versus giant monkey. You don't anyway. So the humans, there are two like different human stories that are going on. There's one on Kong's side where Rebecca Hall is the adoptive mother of this deaf girl played by a deaf actress. I don't know her name, but she did a very good job, and I think that's really amazing representation. They got a deaf actor in there, who has a connection with Kong, connecting by a sign language, and it's cute and kind of adorable. And they're being helped by Alexander Skarsgård, who plays this character called Dr. Nathan Lind, who was doing research on something called the Hollow Earth, which is presumably where Kong came from originally in this universe. And on the sort of Zilla side of things, we have Millie Bobby Brown, who's back in the second movie, who's teaming up with Julian Dennison from Hunt for the Wilder People and Deadpool 2. And they team up with Brian Tyree Henry from Atlanta, who plays this conspiratory podcast host who spouts all these conspiracies about Zilla and Kong and all that stuff. And yeah, they go on this goofy little journey to find out what this company owned by Damian Bashir is doing. And his daughter is helping, played by Eliza Gonzalez, is with the Skarsgård Hall crew to help out with Kong, which is connected to this overall bit involving some awful experiment that Damian Bashir is doing. And I don't know if it's the coffee or recap in the pot, but it's starting to melt my brain into one. I can feel it fold. Although I gotta be honest,
And
it
from the
was
sounds of it, it's three movies in one.
it pretty much is. Although the sort of thing is that they're kind of well done. Like compared to the human stuff and Godzilla and Godzilla versus
Godzilla is what we call my dad because he plays Call of Duty constantly.
Dad, get off the PlayStation. No, I gotta get the high score. Anyway, no. So Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and that one, the human stuff was terrible. It's garbage. Purely because like they try to focus on that, like to sort of like give the film a heart and a soul, but it didn't particularly work out because I didn't really care for any of the characters, and some of the motivations, especially for Vera Farmiga's character, was kind of or at best boneheaded. I mean, the only cool thing about that movie was the monster fights, but even then, it's still hampered down by some really terrible, shallow human stuff. But in Zilla versus Kong, it's a lot more. It's well done in the sense where it's like, right, here's what the characters want, here's what the characters need, here's what they need to go off to do. Let the actors have some fun because they know what their kind of movie they're in. They're not trying to make this Oscar bait movie. They're just trying to have some fun with these giant CGI creatures. And that's kind of where we're at. The different stories, you can clearly see the actors, sorry, having fun. Like hell, Brian Terry Henry is like one of my favorite parts in it, just because like you can tell that he's just having a ball being there, and it's just you can just feel that energy, you know.
So what you're saying is that the other than say the DCEU or the Dark Universe, the Monster Universe, which is it Universal that does them?
No, Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers is sort of learning from their mistakes from other films and is actually making it more of a thing rather than them trying to just go, yes, if we get Superman and Batman to fight and then have them not fight by the end of it, it's fine.
Sort of purely. I mean, the only difference being that with like this is my interpretation. So in case any of the Batman versus Superman stands come out, if any of you come out of the chats, this is just my opinion. This is just what I think. Okay, leave me alone, whatever. So with the DCEU stuff, for me, one of the reasons why Batman versus Superman wasn't particularly great was because that was like the next film right after Man of Steel, where they also announced that they're trying to set up an overall universe, and that backfired terribly purely because you look at like what Warner Bros was doing, and you can see clearly that they were trying to stuff all their eggs into the one basket, and it clearly backfired. With Kong versus Zilla, I don't particularly have much of an investment in this like universe, but I think from what I can what they're kind of doing, it's just like it kind of seems more like a shrug where it's like, whatever, we can try to connect these big monsters together because it's not like they're trying to set up like other movies like clear as day. Like you get hint like in Kong Skull Island and the second Godzilla, you do get like hints and little nuggets about follow up movies, but it's not like Batman versus Superman where they clearly promised a lot and none of that happened purely because of like some of the stuff that occurred with that film. So with Godzilla, with the
I
monster, with
can't
this
remember what director it was. It was, I think it was maybe the director of The Invisible Man,
Lee
the
Wan L.
most recent one. Yeah, I think it was maybe him. He was talking about the fact that you actually, when it comes to working for a big production house like Warner Brothers or MCU or blah blah blah, insert big production house here, you actually want a smaller budget
Mm-hmm.
because if you have a smaller budget, like obviously you had the Snyderverse stuff recently was 70 million compared to King uh Godzilla versus Kong, where that has had,
Mm-hmm.
I think that has a slightly less budget. I'm not 100% sure where I'd look for that.
Really?
But yeah, because remember they had to do like reshoots and all that stuff for 70
Oh, of course. So that would,
for specifically Snyder stuff.
yeah.
Here,
So that would have,
yeah, but I remember the Invisible Man director saying you want a smaller budget because the production house doesn't care. You're not going to lose them that much money, so
yeah.
they kind of let you get away with what you do.
Yeah, I mean, as long as like as long as they know you're going to do a decent job, you should be okay. Like to that, I think it's a good idea to have like stuff at a more of a smaller budget because you do get like instances where like directors will get bigger budgets and it just sort of like either will probably do okay, but it'll go off the rails because you do get some legendary stories of like movies going over budget and some of them making their money back and some of them just not making their money back like at all. If you don't believe me, look up the Heaven's Gate fiasco. That pretty much destroyed the career
Oh,
of
the
the
Heaven's Gate fiasco. Oh my god.
director. I even have a name for it and everything, guys. Trust me, I'm a big insider man. I know what I'm talking about.
Not the Heaven's Gate fiasco. Jeez.
But do look up the story. It's a fascinating like story and just all that malarkey. But yeah, with Godzilla vs Kong, I think in terms of directors, it's directed by Adam Wingard, who directed You're Next and The Guest, and a remake of a certain anime that we're never going to talk about ever because who cares? He did a really good job of this one. You can definitely
Since
tell.
you've said that, I actually have to now look up the anime
Oh damn it!
because I have no clue what you were on about.
I thought we'd be on the same wavelength.
Oh, he did the westernization of Death Note, which I thought was all right.
Yeah, I gotta be
But I
honest.
also should say before any anime people that listen to this, I only thought it was all right because I have no context of the actual show.
Yeah, the anime is pretty good, and then the middle happens, and it just I don't know what happens. It just sort of falls off the rails. I stopped watching halfway through the middle. It was bad, but with the movie itself is it was there. Defoe is pretty good. It's got Lakeith Stanfield. He's very good.
Hmm.
Um, anyway, so well, Adam Wingard did a really good job of Zilla versus Kong, like the way he sort of like directed the sort of sequences and whatnot. Even like one of the big fights that's set in Tokyo, the lighting of the city and everything was just incredible to look at. It's a lot more aesthetically pleasing than watching King of the Monsters, where that was all done with like snow and lightning and all these other really harsh lighting conditions that kind of gave me a migraine after a while. And even compared to like Kong, Skull Island, and the first Godzilla, they were pretty aesthetically pleasing to watch as well. It's just with I don't know what the director of King of the Monsters was thinking, but it gave me a headache, and headaches ain't no good when you're
I
watching a
did.
movie.
I liked talking about the color stuff. I liked Kong Skull Island because it always seemed like it was at like a majority of the main scenes was either at sunset or sunrise. There never seemed to be like an in between.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I didn't particularly care much for Skull Island. Like there are elements of it that are very good, like John C. Riley and Sam Jackson. probably are the best actors in that film because they have so much because they're given like a lot of range to work with. But then you have, I know the other actors were fine and okay, but I didn't really particularly care for their characters. And it's kind of a big, goofy, fun movie, but at the same time, I don't know. I just wasn't vibing with it. It just wasn't my thing.
It does have the best attempt at a sad death. I'll be honest. I'll look him up right now, but it's the
That's
death
the
from I can't. You'll probably know that actor's name better than I do.
is did it involve Shia Wiggum by any chance?
I
He's the
think
army
it
guy that
did.
tried army guy that tries to blow himself up and then gets smacked
Yeah,
to a cliffside and blows up.
it has the
Yeah.
moment where the spoilers for I think it's like a 4-year-old film now. Um, when the guy's trying to get eaten by the really, really bad monsters and does the whole like, I'm gonna blow myself up when he eats me. It's gonna be so great. I'm gonna do this. And the monster just tail whips him into a cave.
Yeah, I remember like not liking that at all because I have a weird thing when it comes to like movie moments like that where it's like, right, they kind of have to mean something though. But now in retrospect, it's like, yeah, that was actually one of the only entertaining parts of the film in retrospect. Like I
I
remember
don't
that
know.
one
I liked the bit when John C. Riley starts talking about the ants that look like birds but are ants. Because I found out recently that that was an improv scene because he was just trying to make the people that were around him laugh.
Oh my god.
But
Oh
what
man.
makes that scene even more better is that they kept it in, and the AD guy put a sound of the bird in between when he goes, "Look, that sounds like a bird, but that's an ant."
I'm guessing because it worked, it got like a few people to crack up.
Yep.
Oh man, but yeah, I wish I liked it, but it wasn't my thing. I know there are people out there who really like it a lot, and that's fair. That's cool. It just wasn't my thing. But yeah, overall, I think in terms of like the 4 films we have so far, I don't know if they're going to make any more, but I do hope we get another Godzilla film because I love my lizard boy. He's really cool. Anyway, so Godzilla versus Kong is probably my second favorite. I have a bit of a soft spot for the Gareth Edwards Godzilla, which is like genuinely quite an underrated little movie. But yeah, I really like Godzilla versus King Kong. I'm probably gonna buy the Blu-ray of it when it comes out. I'm probably also gonna see it in the cinema if we're able to and fully vaccinated and whatnot. But yeah, for those who are stuck at home, no cinemas, and are like, man, I want to watch two CGI creatures like fight and beat the heck out of each other. Watch Godzilla versus Kong.
I'm
It's
just
it's a
glad
fun
that
time.
because obviously I TikTok is a thing, and in America it's on HBO Max, so it has
Yeah.
been pirated to the max.
Yeah, for those who are in the UK wondering where can I watch this masterpiece of cinema before Martin Scorsese calls it a thing, I kid about that as well. Yeah, you can find it on VOD services for like 15.99, and which is quite a big price. But here's the thing: I remember me and my dad had a bit of a talk about this when it came to the prices of these stuff. The last time I paid for a Warner Brothers like film, they're charging 15.99 for most of their movies at this point on VOD to rent and shit. And one of the big movies I watched was Judas and the Black Messiah. I remember telling my dad that I paid that amount of money to watch it, and it's really good and kind of worth it because, well, obviously you're getting quality. And there were 2 other films that came out there alongside Judas and the Black Messiah. That was Locked Down with Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor, and The Little Things of Jared Little, Denzel Washington, and Rami Malek. And I remember looking at them going, right, look at these 3 options. I'm obviously going for the one option because, well, I really wanted to see that one, and the other 2 I'm not going to because one will probably just boil my blood. The other one I've heard rather mixed things about. And apparently, Jared Leto was kind of hysterical to watch it, but I don't want to pay 15.99 just to find Jared Leto be hysterical and then realize, drat, I paid 15.99 for an otherwise mediocre feature.
And you had already seen Scoob, so
Yeah, that there's that. I already put myself through enough hell out of Warner Bros. Filmography, yes, sir. But yeah,
excuse me, Scoob was the best film in the world, best crossover ever.
about to be outdone by Space Jam 2. That's got everyone. It's got Pennywise, the War Boys from Mad Max, and the Droogs from Clockwork Orange. We're gonna outdo all the crossover movies.
Yeah, the quick aside before we move on to my thing. That Space Jam trailer looks like it's attempting to be Ready Player One.
Oh no, I guarantee you. But for my opinion, it's Ready Player One 2.0. I'm kind of annoyed that like don't get me wrong, I don't have any like major love for the first Space Jam. Only nostalgic connection of like, yeah, I used to enjoy that, and I find it strange how Warner Brothers looked at the second one and went, hey, let's do the Lego movie with this and have it make no sense why we're doing that. And it's like, but what made it work with the Lego movie was because it's Lego and it's limitless and you can do whatever you want with Lego. Why are you doing this with Space Jam, a movie about basketball? And oh my god, my brain is about to burst. Whew. But yeah, Godzilla vs Kong is very good. Go watch it; it's fun. And Space Jam 2 is probably going to be trash, but I'm
No,
still going to
Space
see it
Jam
at the
2,
cinema.
it's Space Jam The Legacy or whatever it is.
Yeah, New Legacy. It's probably going to be trash, but I'll be there to see it. And I like LeBron James. He's charismatic, so why not? I'll be there just for my guy LeBron.
He's probably, I say probably, he's going to be the best part of that, unless they've got another secret Bill Murray cameo kicking in.
I guarantee you, it's probably going to be like Bill Hader from Trainwreck. Like the two of them were really good in that movie, so it's going to be like, hey, listen, if you want a Bill Murray level cameo, I'm gonna go get Bill. I'm gonna go get Bill Hader because why not?
But I was still always confused about the Bill Murray cameo, obviously until you were older, and then they literally just went, "Well, yeah, Bill Murray was just wandering around the set," and we were like, "Do you want to be in it?" And he went, "Yeah, all right."
Is that true? He got him on because it was wandering around, and we're like, hey, movie.
I don't think he was wandering. I'm pretty sure the story goes he was on the set and he was in the area anyway, and
Yeah.
came to see what was happening, and they went, "Do you want to do a cameo?" And he was like, "Yeah, all right."
Dude, I love Bill Murray stories like that. Before we move on, I'm going to tell you a quick one that is one of my favorite Bill Murray stories. There was a story that went around where Bill Murray took a cab in New York, and there was a taxi driver who I think was learning about something at the same time. Like he was, I think, reading a book or something. And Murray asks, "Hey, what are you studying there, bud?" And the driver says, "Oh, I'm learning about music and I'm trying to like learn about the saxophone and whatnot." And Bill Murray goes, "Right, stop the cab. Let's swap. You learn how to play the saxophone. I'll drive around. I'll drive myself to the location." So they swapped, and Bill Murray drove his own taxi to like the location while the guy like sat back in the cab and played a saxophone or something, which is just an amazing move from Bill Murray. I don't know. I just
Bill
love the
Murray
stories.
is great. He's just happy being himself. Like
Yeah,
I'll one Bill Murray story I've heard is that there was someone sitting like eating food at a restaurant with their partner, and
yeah.
this figure came up towards them and just grabbed the chips from their table and just ate them in front of and then ate them in front of them. And the guy looked up and it was Bill Murray, and Bill Murray went, "No one will ever believe you," and then just walked away.
Oh, dude, I love it. Like, genuinely, only someone like Bill Murray with the charisma and the presence of Bill Murray could pull that off. It's just genuinely,
Bill Murray's
man.
great. He used to do a thing where, wait, didn't used to do a thing. He's like appeared at bachelor parties because he was just, they looked like they were having fun and he's done it. He went and gave, I'll see if I can find the link for you later on.
Hmm.
But he gave like this amazing speech during a bachelor party where it's like, you found the woman that you really, really like. If you're not sure this is the partner for you, my recommendation is travel with them. Travel with them as much as you can, because if you can go around the world with them and not hate them, they're the person for you.
God damn, that is amazing. Make Bill Murray is the sort of like person who I look at. I'm like, man, I want to be like, I want to be like Bill Murray. He makes me want to be a better man.
So that was the Bill Murray podcast within our podcast there. That's what we
That's
like to call a Murray moment in our show.
mhm. We do podcasts with a podcast and sometimes it'll become their own like bits. So, what's the second thing you want to talk about, Martin?
So I have, under the recommendation of my roommate, been watching the television series of the Snowpiercer,
Oh,
which is obviously because I've seen the film and I've seen
mhm,
I've seen the show. two
Yeah.
completely different things,
Hmm.
which is what I like because the show obviously has is recently just finished, so it has 20 odd episodes to tell you a story, tell you about the characters individually and stuff like that. And the film does it. The film has about 2 hours. It is Bon. I always mess up his name, and Sean's gonna pronounce it properly for me. It is Bong Joon
Bong
Ho.
Joon-ho.
He has got a hand in the TV show, but he did the movie himself. So
Hmm.
it's still got the same cosmetics of it. Like it
Hmm.
looks like they're the same train, but obviously the filming procedures are completely different. They can get away with more stuff. The trains themselves are different, and so are the characters.
Hmm.
But it's got in the lead role David Diggs, who is great in everything.
We stand him. We stand David Diggs.
It's got a handful more people like Jennifer Connelly. If we're talking about people who just are great, you've obviously got I completely blanking on his name, Stephen Ogg, who
Oh yeah, he's in that, isn't he?
who's in everything from Grand Theft Auto as a main
Hmm.
character to uh, what's the Better Call Saul as another main
Yeah,
character.
he also appeared in The Walking Dead. He also appeared in Westworld, and he's also appeared in a movie that I saw at the end of a film festival one time called Solace, which is a very underrated little space movie.
Yeah, he's great. He's one of the people that has been given work because he was good, because he was great in a cartoon.
Hmm.
Well, not a cartoon, animation of some sort.
Yeah, I remember the Cartoon Network show Grand Theft Auto. That's my favorite cartoon. Yay!
But this movie is where the movie. I'm losing my words a little bit.
Yeah.
The movie is set around about 20 years after the world froze, because in
Hmm.
this we have it where there is global warming, all the governments of the world shoot up something called, I think it's CW7 or something like that, to try and cool the world because we're screwing it up.
Yeah.
And where the film is 20 years later, the TV show is only actually 7 years later.
So it kind of functions as like a prequel almost.
In a way,
Hmm.
in the fact that they still remember the old world, but they also are enjoying the new world. The way that the show actually starts, and it's not a spoiler because it's the first 10 minutes of the thing, is that the train is called Snowpiercer. It is created by a guy called Mr. Welfare to ticket it out to his rich mates, basically.
Hmm.
And they get on and all that stuff. But as it is probably going to happen in the real world, more and more people find out about the thing. So they rush the train, but they get rushed and then left in the tail of the train. So they become what is known as a slur in the show as a tailie, where you live in the tail. David Diggs is the head. The head. He's the lead character of the
Yeah.
tail.
It's essentially the Chris Evans role, from my understanding, from the Snowpiercer film.
Yeah, basically, he's Andrew Layton, where Chris Evans is Curtis something or other.
Curtis. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't
Yeah,
know if he had a last name, but his character's name is Curtis in the film.
yeah. But it takes you through what they have to deal with. It goes through the different people. You find out uh, Jennifer Connelly is in charge of the train. You find out all these other kind of things, and then say about halfway through the first episode, David Diggs' character gets brought onto the actual main area of the train because there was a murder.
Ooh.
And in the past world, he was a detective. So they
Mm-hmm.
bring him forward because he's a detective, but he's also the leader of the tail. So he
Mm.
tries to get all these things to happen for the tail
All right.
in exchange for him to solve this crime.
Mm-hmm.
And then I won't, for the people who actually want to watch it, I won't spoil who does it, but he eventually gets it all figured out and stuff. And as soon as they think they've figured it out at the end of the first season, another character appears that completely screws with anything. There's another aspect of the show comes in that makes everything severely turned on its head. The acting is great. All the people who are in it are amazing. There's certain characters that don't get padded out as well as they should. Because like Mike O'Malley's in it, and I always think Mike O'Malley needs more screen time no matter what he does. But there is a guy who I'm just going to double check his name called in the show. His name is Strong Boy,
Mhm.
but he is an actor called Kurt Austland, and
Oh, okay.
he is a guy who is in the tail who is basically fed, built, and all that stuff to be a strong boy. He's the one to
Mhm.
fight off the stuff, but he doesn't really say that much. And then at a certain point, he starts talking, but he starts talking in Cantonese, and they never really explain why he's talking in Cantonese at all. Because without being racist about it, he's white, so there's no real
Mhm.
way that he should be talking Cantonese.
Yeah.
But that character is never really covered, other than being this guy who's physically fit, who can hold his own in a fight, and then
Mhm.
eventually starts talking. And it's a very confusing show, but it
Mhm.
is kind of addictive to watch because they've
Yeah, I
got
would.
some. I won't spoil who he is, but Sean Bean's in it at certain points.
Mm.
Sean Bean's always a good character.
Yeah.
Jennifer Connelly's a great actress in general. There's no other
Mhm.
ways to say it. David Diggs, great. Who is the woman that plays across from him? Because he has someone who's helping him with the crime called Mickey Summer is the actress's name,
Mhm.
but her character's name is sorry,
Bess.
Bess Till, and she was before the world shut down. She was like a rookie cop. So them two are kind of together because they both have the same sort of training.
Mhm.
And she is very, very good. She's been in things like Battle of the Sexes, American Made. She was in something else big that I can't find.
I kind of get the sense of the show that there's a lot going on because from experience, I can only say that like I've only saw the movie, so I've never really like seen the TV show. Although I do have an idea of like who Sean Bean plays. I won't say just just to be courteous and not to spoil anything for the audience who want to get on board with the Snowpiercer TV show. But I've only ever seen the movie. The show doesn't particularly like intrigue me just because I don't know. I just have a bit of a connection with the film. I think the film is very good. You know.
I've actually, just because I've seen both, I like both of them, but both of them bring different things.
Yeah.
Like, debatably, Snowpiercer, the film, is an action film,
Mm,
is an action relay race, to be honest,
mm,
because they each time is getting to a different point until they eventually
yeah.
get to stuff. I'm trying to talk around it because it's only new, but
Yeah. With
certain
I,
things that are big moments about the train in the film
mhm.
are got nothing to do with the train in the show.
Yeah, from the sense of it sounds like you're describing like obviously you have the two settings that are similar to one another. One is obviously going for like a sort of like detective sort of vibe, like a like a sort of like what's the show? CSI, but on a train. And then you have like the film, which is pretty much just like this action adventure, social commentary on like on class warfare, and you're traveling with the characters, seeing all these like new spots on the train. So when they're like, "Oh wow, it's a sauna in here," you're like, "Oh wow, there's a sauna in here. How the hell did they find a sauna on a train? This is weird."
Yeah, yeah. So that's all I really have to say with it because it's genuinely new. So I can't really say too much. I
Yeah,
would
that's
recommend
fair.
watching both. I
Hmm.
think I'd maybe do movie then show so you could see
Yeah, I
the
think that's a better
difference
idea.
because if you do because my roommate's doing show then film
Hmm.
because we're watching it again like today basically,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Like I,
they're very like where you're expecting a long sort of character being able to explain all the stuff. It's no depredation. There's nothing bad to say about the film, but the film doesn't
mhm.
really go in depth into character descriptions.
Oh, for sure. Like the show, actually no. I Some would argue that the movie kind of does some pretty decent characterization. It's just like they're holding back certain information. Like for Curtis, he has a backstory that doesn't particularly get addressed until near the conclusion of the film. That sort of like puts his whole character arc in perspective. And you do get other characters that have their own little thing going, but they're memorable in the sense where like they don't have to give a speech about who they are as people. It's more just like, right, I get who this person is, I get who that person is, you know. And also I think of the movie, what the benefits of it as a movie is that it definitely like has it. It definitely tells his backstory, but not in a sort of like Lord of the Rings. It needs two extra films just to fill out the story. It goes okay. The world's pretty cold and terrible right now. Here's a train with the last of humanity. You have the bottom of all the poor people and the top of all the rich people and the founder of this train, and you have this warfare going on, and that's kind of your movie. And you know,
Because I
it's
can't remember, and you might be able to answer this, but I can't remember if they explain how Curtis got onto the train
mhm.
compared to how Leighton got onto the train. Because Leighton and his group, the Tailies, are stowaways. They broke in and
Mhm.
tried to get onto the train in the last moments of the old world.
Yeah,
And you just sort of start with in the film with them already being on the end of the train.
yeah. Like I think of Curtis, he kind of like I don't know if they addressed him ever like telling a story where he hopped on a train, but I think he just sort of like they give you an idea that he's been on this train for like nearly half his life. And with the villain character, they kind of like well again I think with the film they try to sort of like keep it close to their chest, but pretty much I think he was just always there for the beginning, with the villain on the train and whatnot. And with the Curtis character, I think he sort of addressed certain things he's done on this train, but how he got there, it's more just down to the simple fact of like, oh, he's probably spent this train his whole life, and but now they're obviously tired of like being at the end of the train.
Yeah. But we are now going to move on to our sort of big topic. It was going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but someone's not been keeping up with the show as much as the other person have, not to say any names.
uh, oh yeah, that rat scallion. Where is he? I'll kick his ass if I find him. Where are you, you cheapskate, skipping out on the highly anticipated Falcon versus Winter Soldier? Where are you? I'll kick your butt. For ugh, my gears have been grinded.
So I have, in preparation for the third season, which will be announced at some point, but is already out in America, I have been rewatching the TV series made by Olin Rogers and David Sachs called Final Space, which is Sorry, I've just read the IMDb part there. You know
Yes,
how we normally
I too agree that Final Space is pretty.
so you know how listeners we normally have it where we read the plot from IMDb and sometimes they get it right and sometimes they just get it completely wrong.
But yeah,
And I
they
got
go very
distracted by the
vague.
fact that this is not exactly right, but they shot we'll tell you the gist of it. The gist of it is that Gary Goodspeed is a prisoner on a ship
Mhm.
and he comes across while he is doing routine maintenance on something, he comes across I can't remember what the exact numbers of the thing is, but it is an alien that doesn't really speak in any sort of English language that is called Mooncake, that he lovingly calls Mooncake. I think it's called like A1777 or something, is
Yeah,
its
like it's like
technical name.
it's kind of a Stitch situation where they gave him like his own name, but it's a number because experiment or something like that. Oh,
This
pardon me.
the show though is got it's got great people in it. It's
Mhm.
got such great voice actors like Olin Rogers himself plays a Gary Goodspeed or the Gary Goodspeed, but depending on who you are in the TV show, or just Gary.
Yeah.
You have Stephen Yoon, you have Tika Sumper, you have the great Tom Kenny, who plays a completely different character than you're expecting. You've got
Mhm.
also Ashley Birch, who has made a name for herself in anything she does, to be honest. She's normally the breakout character in most of the shows she's in.
Mhm.
And
And
the bad guy, who is debatably, I like him in this more than I like him in a lot of other stuff that he does, is
mhm.
David Tennant, who we've kind of spoiled your people who have never watched the show figuring it out. Because I don't know about you, Sean, but it took me at least 3 episodes to figure out it was David Tennant.
Yeah, like I knew he was going to be in the show, but I remember watching it, listening to his voice. It's like, right, surely that can't be him. That can't be David Tennant. Then you go on IMDb, you see the name of the character on his like under his phone, and you're like, no, no, but that's David Tennant. What the hell is going on? This is some weird mind game, and I don't like it. But yeah, it's the voice cast in this show is incredible because not only do you have the people who Martin has addressed, you've also got like people like Ron Perlman and Ron Funches and Fred Armisian and Keith David as well. Keith David's in the show, and it's just such a stacked cast, you
I
know?
have to say, I am ashamed of myself for not mentioning Goatee Galloway, who plays Gary's best friend,
Mm.
friend,
Friend, acquaintance, buddy, partner,
acquaintance,
whatever you want to call it.
tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Avocado, who has got the best voice I've ever heard, I think.
Yeah, if any of you are listening right now and go, "Oh, cool, Final Space," and meet the character of Avocado, be prepared to be moved by his voice, because good grief, his voice is amazing.
And it's not even him putting on a voice; it's his voice.
It's just
It's
him. He
his voice
speaks.
in general. Is he's a Dante Bosco where he's getting paid to do his own voice.
Yeah, like it's like he's that. It's a level of voice acting where like you don't need to do any changes. Hell, Ron Perlman shows up, and he doesn't even like do any fancy tricks. It's just Ron Perlman doing a voice, or Keith David doing a voice. Those are the sort of best voice actors where they just come in and are like, yeah, I have a gift right here. I'm going to use it and utilize it to the best potential. And the guy who voices Avocado, dude, I want him to read me a bedtime story because I imagine it'd be like so epic to listen to. read me the Hungry Caterpillar, please. The hungry caterpillar was so hungry he went down and ate an apple. Oh boy, it's so epic! It's like oh the rings over here.
Unlike unlike eh, they're getting better at it now, but when you first watch the TV, when you first watch Final Space, unlike a lot of other animations, it does really well at kind of hitting most of the emotional points that it needs to.
Yeah, like I gotta be honest with you. I remember the when when it was first announced, and this is before we got it in the UK because I think it had quite a hard time trying to get itself overseas here. I remember like just thinking, right, I love Owen Rogers with his YouTube history. He's a really funny, really talented guy. I don't know if this show's gonna work out because obviously it's a new animated show. I don't know if they do well because obviously got other animated shows that like have massive appeal of different audiences. And then I watched it, and while the first couple of episodes are still kind of rocky in terms of comedy, when it get what it ends up like becoming better at than I would have expected, it's the drama of the show.
Yeah.
Like,
It's and there is no way to describe it other than the without spoiling the show for people that have not watched it, you get to episode 6, and episode 6 leaves you on a point that just destroys you if you have got
yeah,
if you were into the show. If you're not that
mhm,
into the show, it might not, but it hits a certain point and then it just leaves you on that point as it finishes the show.
exactly. Like the second or third episode gets more investing and even a little bit more humorous, but it is until you hit a certain point in the middle of episode 6 where something occurs and you're just on the your jaw's on the floor. It's one of the most like amazing like turns of a piece of media I've ever seen. Just because like you wouldn't expect such a moment to occur from Olin Rogers. And which obviously might sound like a bit of a dig. It's not a dig. I think it's more of a compliment because Jesus Christ, I don't know any other comedy writer who'll make an animated
It's not
show
really a
and just
dig
do that. Yeah.
because if you look at Olin Rogers' YouTube stuff, other than the
Mhm.
stuff that he has put, his pilots that were gonna maybe be another 2 shows, like Robin Detective Boy and Lions Blaze, but Lions Blaze has been picked up to become an actual series. They're when you watch that, they're not only those 2 shows really give you any sort of hint of what his emotional range is. The rest of
Mhm.
it is just him like telling stories. It's just him sort of dicking around with people. It is
Yeah.
not something you expect to. And I'm not ashamed to say this. I cried several times in this cartoon because
No, it's fair, man.
it hits you just so hard where you're
Aye.
not expecting certain characters to do certain things. You're not expecting this to go, you're expecting a straight shooting route all the way
Yeah.
through the TV show. It's going to be
Mhm.
like any other cartoon you've watched where there'll be a little bit of peril, but they'll get over it by the end of the episode. Everything will be sorted out in 30 minutes, but it doesn't.
Mhm.
They have
Absolutely. Like,
moments that will just last. You have characters that have to deal with certain psychological things throughout the whole show. And
mhm.
it delves into mental health issues quite well. It delves into PTSD quite well.
Mhm.
It's kind of it's almost like Olin had the idea to make the live action show, but not the money to do it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
I think
don't
man,
think it would have worked as well as a live action as it does as a cartoon.
yeah, I think the animation of it works a lot better because it's shockingly, despite like what the character design might let you tell, what might let you like in on, the animation of the show is spectacular. And also, just as a bit of an add on from what you're saying there on, don't be ashamed of like being upset at of crying at a piece of media. Like if anyone has had to go Judge Bale, Judge Bale being like, oh, you cried at this, get out of here. No, come on, that's unfair. I agree. I burst into tears watching like Final Space. I'm pretty sure maybe on occasion we were watching it together at one point, and you may have saw me burst into tears, and we were like, "Dude, the show it didn't need to go hard on it, and it did." Like I think it's
That's the
incredible that
perfect
like
description of the show. It goes as hard as it can constantly.
yeah,
There
like
isn't
that's
really, it gets to, well, I'll say episode 6 again, to
mhm,
just, so if actually what I'm describing happens in a different episode,
mhm.
it just gets to a certain episode of the show where it starts and then doesn't stop.
Yeah, it continues, and then you get to season two, where more bad things happen. When I say bad, I mean like obviously emotional, not quality wise. Then more bad things happen, and you're just sitting there by the end of it, like go think to yourself, dude, Olin is owning the room, and he's going hard, and he didn't have to, but he did. Jesus, this show, like, it's really hard to like sort of like not try give anything away because I went into the show completely blind and also as a fan of like Rogers' work from YouTube and his and the sort of comedy group Balloon Shop that he was a part of on YouTube, which by the way, if you haven't seen, check them out, they're really funny. And so yeah, I just I'm flabbergasted every time I look back on how my reaction to the show went from like, this is okay, to oh my god, what's going on, to now like, dude, I can't wait for season three, and also I'm kind of scared to rewatch the show again because I know I'm gonna get really upset. it's gonna just,
And
it's
just
just,
the main problem that I'm having is licensing issues across the countries, which
mhm.
is really annoying because
Oh for
obviously
sure,
I can't now look up Final Space stuff online on YouTube because they are 2 episodes into season 3 in America, and I
yeah.
don't want any even like headlines to spoil it for me.
Yeah, like no, this character did this thing or anything. Like, I think we just have to like wait. I'm not so sure what the dealio is with this sort of like exchange stuff. But I imagine that I think after a couple episodes, or maybe by the end, we'll probably have Netflix like get in the show. But
See,
either way,
I'm not 100% sure because last season we got it a week after.
oh yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, I don't
No,
even know
the
what's.
first season we got it all together.
Mhm.
Second season it was a weekly basis, but I think it was maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after America got it.
Yeah,
And I don't know what's going to happen with season 3. Like I don't know if we looked at Netflix right now if it would give you a date.
yeah, it's bizarre how that works. Like I'm obviously not being an expert on how the TV stuff works because hell, it's already hard enough waiting for like movies from like last year currently in the Oscar race that you have to wait like months for to sort of like appear. So yeah, it's a very complicated issue right now, and I don't know exactly when we're going to get season three, but I can tell you this: I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait to see what other like emotional lore stuff Lauren Rogers is going to come up with, and just I'm looking forward to the ride. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. There's no other way to say. Like it's a show that once you want to talk about it, you want to tell everyone about everything. It's really
Oh, for
hard to
sure.
do a non-spoilery review
Hmm.
of the show because
Yeah.
he makes worlds that are amazing. Like you want to
Mhm.
know about everything about this world.
Yeah, like Olin Rogers is the sort of like YouTube creator that started his career doing like comedy skits, and then you see where he is right now, and it's a bit of a cliche word to use, but I can't help but feel inspired just to see how Olin Rogers like managed to make probably one of the best shows going forward on television right now, and yet no one seems to be talking about it. Like it's still kind of a niche show. Um,
Which is like it's literally like internationally successful.
Yeah, like there's still people who watch it, but you don't really hear anyone else talk about it, if you know what I mean. Like you say, it's an international like hit, but I don't see anyone like on my Twitter feed or my Facebook feed or whatever watching it and being like, "Hey, this is really good." And it's like we got to get more bodies or more eyes on the product. It's very very good. And I
It's there's not anything else to say. Like I'm stumbling over my words more than usual because you want to say, "Oh,
yeah.
this scene is the best because this thing happens," and then the music hits, and then
Mhm.
it goes to silence, but all you can hear is certain moments happening, and it's just you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to ruin it for the person who's watching the show.
Yeah, if we don't mind, man, mind if I close off our thoughts in Final Space of like a saying that we said a while back that I think perfectly encapsulates what we think about the show. Yeah, well, I guess that was a yes. I saw you pointing.
Yeah.
Was that a yes? Okay, sorry. All right, yes, sorry. I thought I was going to get
I
out of
was
my
trying to
head.
make it go more seamlessly, but
Oh,
yes,
right.
Sean,
Oh,
you are
man.
allowed to talk on the show that
Okay.
you co-host.
Okay. Okay. Final Space, I think we can agree, is the sort of show where we look at it and you go, you didn't have to go that hard, but you did. And that's what makes you special.
Yes,
Sean.
Olin deserves. My final thoughts on it is Olin deserves the world. He
Mm.
deserves everything well, every good thing that happens to him. I won't say everything that happens to him. He's I wouldn't say great actor.
Mhm.
He is a great director. He's a great idea that is just hit the ground running and needs to
Yeah.
continue more. I want
Mhm.
his I want both of the other shows that I've watched pilots on to be picked up. Lions Blaze managed to also go harder than it needed to, and so
Mhm.
did Robin Detective Boy. And
Yeah.
we're just going to stop it there. And I'm going to continue on by saying that I watched a movie from 2013 called Odd Thomas that was not is nearly as great as Final Space.
What a
But to link
transition!
it back
I
to
got.
the but to link it back to the other show that we were talking about, Willem Dafoe plays a character in it.
Oh, yeah. I got to say that was quite the amazing transition you did there. Well done.
You've
But
got to
yeah,
stop pointing out our our amazing transitions. It doesn't really work. Where
come on.
I will give you a quick plot synopsis for this. It is Odd Thomas, where you think that Odd Thomas is because his name is Thomas and he is odd. Actually, it is a spelling mistake on his birth certificate where his name is Odd Thomas. He is
Mhm.
called Odd. It is played by the late great Anton Yelnik, who was
I think it's
lost.
pronounced. I think it's pronounced Yelchin. Is it
Yelchin?
pronounced Yel? It's
I'm not
Yelchin.
100% sure. It is Yel Chin.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's Yelchin. Like I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's Yelchin. I just think the way you say it was a bit strange, but that's just me. I just
I'll, I'll find out pronunciations later.
all right.
But the Anton was taken away from us too quickly due to a freak accident.
Mhm.
And I really would have loved to see where he is now because
Mhm.
the shows he have done is amazing. But he plays a character called Odd Thomas who lives in a small Californian town and is a short order cook, which is an Americanism for fry cook, where he has abilities to say the least,
Mhm.
where he can help detectives you sort of solve crimes, but also does it himself. Like he
Yeah.
kind of is a PI, but he he helps the detectives rather than do what most TV shows do, where he'd find the criminal, he'd deal with the criminal himself, and then the police would arrive. He actually keeps them up to date and goes, I walked past Graham today, and Graham, when I bumped into Graham, I saw that he had actually committed this murder against this girl 20 years ago,
Yeah,
because she then appeared and started directing me towards this thing. But unlike TV shows like The Medium or whatever other TV shows deal with clairvoyant people doing this thing, he sees things that I'll see if I can actually find what they are called, because he
yeah,
gives them a special name.
yeah, like I gotta be honest. I do remember like watching the film, but it was like years ago. Like I think I watched it like in 2014, 2015. It was on like Netflix for a spell, but I watched it the once, thought it was okay, but I never really went back to watch it again. So my memory of it is gonna be quite hazy. But I do remember like really liking it. And dude, Anton Yelchin, come on, that guy is very good, and I think it's a shame that we lost him. You know, like just such a damn shame.
He can see these things called Babadooks.
Babadooks.
I
Oh my
think
god.
that's how he pronounces them. It's Bodachs,
Mm,
Babadooks, where he starts to figure out slowly that they are only arrive when a massive catastrophe is going to happen.
mm,
And he starts seeing more and more arrive in this town around this guy.
yeah.
And the whole point of the movie is him trying to figure out, with the help of the chief, Willem Dafoe, why these things have started to actually appear around this guy and what is
Mm.
the thing. But he has to do it in secret, because if they figure out that they can see you, they will kill you straight away.
Oh, oh no, oh dear.
Whether it's through accidentally getting you hit by a car, or a guy, he it has a flashback where he shows that he talks to someone who can see it, and he admits that he can see it, and then the next 30 seconds he gets ran over by a car,
Jesus Christ.
because
Oh
these
no.
things have got this much control of chaos
Mm,
that they love it, they feed off it, and they just want it to happen.
mm,
I was going to look up the character who plays his girlfriend, because she is quite good, but she has
mm.
actually only been in a handful of things. She has
Really?
played the little girl in G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra,
Huh.
and
Oh,
played
okay.
his girlfriend in this, and that was it.
Wow, okay.
She is Ashley Summers, and I know I said that wrong. She's Ashley Summers, but I believe, because the director and writer of the screenplay is Stephen Summers, that
Yeah.
she is a relation, whether it be husband, whether it be wife
Mm.
or sister or something. But she was really good in it, and I'm surprised she's not done more.
Yeah, I'm kind of like now you mentioned it. Like I remember Stephen Sommers is the director of the movie, and I'm surprised that like I remember doing some research on it after watching it that obviously Stephen Sommers, for those who probably recognize the name, he directed the first two Mummy films. He also directed the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman, and also GI Joe: Rise of Cobra. Like he's kind of a journeyman director who like is pretty good at what he does. But it's a kind of a weird. Odd Thomas was probably like a movie that was going back to his like roots, and I don't know what happened. It just sort of went. It just sort of went to like straight to video and straight to demand, and never really like saw the light of day. Like it's the sort of film that like like movies that are being made now for Netflix, or like they just appear, or Amazon Prime, but they just appear, and people are like, oh wow, this movie, and they talk about it for like a week or so. I feel like that was all Thomas was back in the day. It was like a pre-Netflix movie that could have like found its audience immediately on Netflix.
Not to say anything bad about Odd Thomas.
Hmm.
There's certain moments where the dialogue is a bit clunky, where there's like hellmouths, and he like explains hellmouths a bit too much than he should. But other
Yeah,
than that, it's a movie that you watch and you think about it for that week, like you're saying, and then that's kind of it.
yeah.
Like I could see how they would do a sequel, but I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I think if they did a sequel, it would be debatably worse than it is.
Oh, for sure.
But the actual like explanation of everything, him dealing with the fact that he is trying to figure out all this stuff, is a really, really good film, and it lays out pretty well. And
Yeah,
the twist at the end you kind of see coming because they kind of telegraph it a little bit.
yeah. I gotta be honest, I didn't see it coming. Like from what I can remember, I turned to Jerry Seinfeld for a minute there. I apologize. I didn't see it coming. Oh no, from what I can remember, I remember like there are certain aspects of the film I remember. Obviously, there's Anton Yelchin and Willem Dafoe, and the ending I remember like kind of left a bit of a strong impression of me, purely because I kind of didn't see it coming, and it's one of those like endings you wouldn't expect for like a goofy, like action adventure supernatural movie like Odd Thomas.
I don't
So
mean that ending. I mean the when he figures out who the people are.
oh, okay.
It
All
kind of
right. So,
telegraphs it a little bit because they're characters that repeatedly turn up, and you're like
all right.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. That ending did not hit. That is one of the ones like an Nolan Rogers type where it didn't need to go that hard in it, but it did.
Yeah. Like the other thing you're mentioning of like these people and whatnot, I like I said, it comes from a fact that like I watched it like years ago once and never really went back to watch it, so my memory might be a bit hazy of it. But it
I
definitely
highly doubt that, Sean. You have an insight, and there's a reason why we do this show. You are basically a human IMDb.
Listen, I can happily tell you like who was in it, who directed it, who wrote it, and all that sort of stuff. But I can't exact. But if it's a movie that's kind of forgettable and its plot elements, I'm not going to be able to help you there.
You've still kept up with most of the things I've said about a film that you said you watched once. So let's not play that game.
I mean, I can remember like certain like visuals. The one visual I remember was that it had like the villain from The Mummy make a cameo where he plays a guy who has his arm like chopped off in an accident, and he just comes out of nowhere and just starts waving at Anton Yelchin and whatnot, just doing things with his arm. So there are elements of Thomas I remember. Just overall, it's bits and pieces I remember, and not exactly the whole picture. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that completely
Yeah,
makes sense. But also you're
yeah.
talking shit.
Oh, be quiet. You leave me alone. You don't know how my memory
You're
works.
you're talking absolute rubbish, Sean.
Listen, I'm telling you, I don't remember much about On Thomas. I remember watching it once. One was okay. I never went back.
But you've kept up with everything and even remembered who the director was and certain moments that I brought up that of
Yeah,
the actual film. So
yeah.
let's move on to your final thing. Let's do it now before you dig yourself a hole of saying that you don't remember everything, but also remember everything.
No, because I don't remember it. I'm kidding. Okay. So the show. So I was gonna do I'm doing a show for this one because obviously it's kind of fair, movie and show. It's only fair, and I decided to sort of like get a show off the list because there's other shows I need to get round to. Apple TV Plus. I should be probably a lot more clear on that. Released a show recently that's based on either a Spanish or French production called Calls, which is a TV show that involves mostly audio related conversations over the phone. And I think it was like created by Fede Alvarez, who is the director of the Evil Dead remake from 2013, and also the director of Don't Breathe from 2016. Don't Breathe being very, very good, probably his best film. Calls, without getting into too much details, because kind of like Final Space, it's the sort of perfect show where it's better to walk in blind about what is going on. To give you the gist of it, there's a big event that occurs throughout seven, ten different stories, where you get different actors like Lily Collins, Paul Walter Hauser, Karen Gillan, Ben Schwartz, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Riley Keough, Aubrey Plaza, Clancy Brown, Danny Pudi, Stephen Lang, just to name a few. Like all those actors are part of these individual different stories where this big event occurs,
To cut you off, I
and
think you're saying just to name a few. You named all of them.
half of them. Yeah, I remember there's more. There's more that's coming into my mind. And it's like no, I don't want to take up the podcast by naming off people because IMDb is there anyway. Shut up notifications anyway. So then you've got this big event that occurs, and the different stories are sort of like are surrounding that big event. It leads up to like the last two episodes that involve trying to fix this event. And the beauty of the show is that it's all performed by voice acting, doing all these like different calls, and each individual story has its own interesting things going on. And the genius of it too is that there are some genuinely horrifying descriptions that they do, and you don't see what they're seeing. It's just like up to you to interpret what's going on because there's some genuinely frightening stuff that occurs in the show, and it's up to you to interpret what that image looks like.
It's like an audiobook, basically.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's right. It's an audiobook. It's an anthology audiobook that features some very good vocal performances. There's one that features Aaron Taylor Johnson, Riley Keough, and Ben Schwartz, and even Jennifer Tilly, which is surprising. And it's probably my favorite. It's just so emotional, and has its own little story. It's very like emotional and very well done. And the voice acting by all four performers is incredible. Like, I want to see Ben Schwartz do more dramatic stuff. He was that good, and it's just good to see like Aaron Taylor Johnson do more stuff because I think he's a very good actor. And you also get one that involves Pedro Pascal that more functions as a sort of like comical story in this event, and it's very good. Like each individual story is so unique in its own like narrative and has its own sort of like stuff going on. Some are funny, some are horrifying, and some are just flat out like, whoa, I want to see where this goes. Like I watched the whole thing in one day. All the episodes are like 13 to 20 minutes long, and so you can pretty much just get it done in one day. And it's the sort of show that like it makes you want to rewatch it again because by the time you get to the end and they explain certain things about this event, you're like, dude, I want to watch all that again just to sort of like pinpoint what it was they were talking about. Like it's this sort of thing that wouldn't obviously would not work if you tried to like make it live action, but because like they stuck to their guns, I mean this sort of visual thing, it's just incredible, and you definitely get some rather terrific voice acting out of all the actors there. And Fede Alvarez, I hope he does more stuff because I do like Fede Alvarez. The only issue that I do have, not with the show, it's mostly with Apple TV Plus. I think they're doing a terrible job promoting it because I pretty much discovered it by myself when I saw that name on their front page on their app, and I remember I saw it like one time advertised on IMDb. But besides from that, I don't know how I don't know if anyone else is watching it. I don't know if they're promoting it that well. I mean, I could be wrong in its promotion because obviously I don't work for them. It's the sort of thing where like I just hope more people are watching it because it's the sort of show that's definitely going to be formed. That's definitely going to have a cult following surrounding it, and it's definitely going to be like probably remembered as one of the best of 2021. And you're probably going to have people looking at those articles and pieces on the magazines and being like, "Oh man, I need to get around to watching that," because genuinely, it's amazing stuff. I recommend it to anyone who's listening, and I recommend it to you, Mr. Martin Walker, because it's very, very good. And I know how you like your audio stuff, and I think you're going to be blown away by the amount of like audio related stuff is in this show.
Yeah, it's as you're saying, and I don't know what. First, I'll say that you were a bit confused about the origins of the show. It's originally a French American thing.
French American? Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was French, but I didn't know it was American as well.
I think it's more just because it's on. I've just lost that. But what I'm meaning is that to go off what you were saying with Apple TV, I know it's not something that obviously it doesn't really need to do this
Mm-hmm.
because obviously it's got the TVs and the Macs and the
Mm-hmm.
phones to make most of his money, but Apple TV is very bad at advertising its stuff.
Yeah.
It's like obviously we had our I think it was second or whatever winner episodes when we did our top five thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Lasso was amazing. It's
Yeah.
taken people now, more people are talking about it, but
Yeah.
it came out last year, like
Yeah. Like,
middle of the year. It's
mm-hmm.
really weird how little Apple's actually advertising its stuff. I know you weren't a fan of it, but Mythic Quest was in my opinion, was quite a good TV show that covered
Yeah.
games development in a good way rather than it just being like
Yeah.
the Big Bang level stuff.
Yeah. On the contrary, I think they promote like I remember like seeing advertisements for but what was the show called? Raven's Quest?
Mythic Quest, I think.
Mythic Quest. I remember seeing advertisements for Mythic Quest all not all the time, but certainly like when it occurred, I saw the advertising of it. It was being advertised a lot more than Ted Lasso was. And like you say, it's taking people up to like it's awards one. Awards one rather.
Aurora's one.
Aurora Borealis. It took
While you're stumbling over your words, I've got my Google search back up. It is
yeah.
a French American TV series
Mm-hmm.
by the same name, and it was made by a guy called Timothy Hotchett.
Mm. There we
And I
go. That's
think it was on the reason why it is classed as French American is
mm.
that it was on the French network Canal.
All right. Yeah. No, I remember seeing her name. Like Canal also played a big part in this new version of the show, and which surprised me because I do love Canal Plus and I do love Studio Canal. They're like they do like some pretty good distribution stuff in the UK. Like some of the best films I've ever seen were distributed by them. But anywho, so yeah, Apple's the way Apple promotes like stuff like for the movies, it's semi fine. Like Wolfwalkers, they promoted the heck out of the same. But with Greyhound, they bought it, but just were like, we have Greyhound, come on down. But like in terms of like promoting like really good stuff that you discover, and it's like, whoa, dude, what the hell is this? They don't particularly like do any good stuff of it. Like we keep saying, and we don't mean to be broken records about it. Ted Lasso, I don't remember anyone speaking about it, and you were the only person who told me about Ted Lasso when you got Apple Plus and recommended it to me. That was kind of about it, and now it's became one of the biggest shows that Apple TV Plus has, and I hope that they sort of like learn from their mistakes and start promoting like shows that look pretty interesting. Don't get me wrong, there's shows they
Like,
promoted like
unfortunately, season two is being filmed now of Ted Lasso.
yeah.
Like, the season two will probably be over promoted. The Apple will probably self-correct itself, which will be the problem because I imagine the more adverts, the more likely it is to push people away.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't really know how much this sort of like TV stuff works. I know that promotion will probably end up getting you a lot of viewers, but I do. But you're going to get people that are going to be curious about Ted Lasso. And they're going to jump on board the Lasso train. So hopefully that should probably be it. Like they've got shows that they've been hyping for a while, like Dickinson and Servant, which I've got on my list and I really want to watch, and I can't wait to check those out. But when it comes to stuff like Calls or Ted Lasso, I think Apple just starts. You just need to start promoting more, and I think that's fair. It's fair criticism purely because like they're still a fresh sort of streaming service. They were only discovered like what 2 3 years ago. It's just like joining the streaming stuff. So it's not obviously they're still like trying to find what to promote, but I would rather they started promoting stuff like Calls than potentially stuff like Cherry because Cherry wasn't very good. It was kind of a mess to be honest with you.
Which one was Cherry again? Was that another one with Tom Holland
Uh,
in it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Russo brothers. It's the Russo brothers movie that their first film after the Avengers stuff, which it was one of the things I was actually going to talk about on this show, but we had to like, pardon me, wait a few episodes. But let me tell you, if you are curious to watch it, it's a mess that is kind of worth checking out. Although I kind of felt like the whole thing was made just because the Russos are like, but we can make serious movies too. We're going to make a movie called Cherry, which don't get me wrong, I think it's admirable. Hell, I want to go read the book of the film because the book sounds fucking fascinating. Pardon my language. God damn it, Sean. It sounds
Hey, to
fascinating.
be fair, and we've tried really here hard. We've not even tried hard. I mean, we've only actually sworn twice.
Yeah. So I guess it's a new world record now.
And now that I have looked it up, Apple TV Plus is only actually 2 years old.
Really? Man.
November 1st, 2019 was when it launched.
Yeah. So it's basically just still kind of a baby at this point. So obviously they don't have a whole lot of original content to promote. But please, Apple, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but it would be pretty cool if you did. Please promote Calls and please promote other really good shows next time around. Hell, you've
Please
got like
promote what we're saying is promote the stuff that we're into so we
yeah,
can find it.
because
We're
yeah,
too
we know.
lazy. We don't know where we're finding this stuff. Apple, how dare you? Ghost of Steve Jobs. How dare
Yeah,
you not promote the shows that we're into?
yeah. Stop promoting movies that will try attract wide audiences, and start promoting this niche thing until
Yeah.
it becomes huge. But yeah, like I say, though, Cherry is still worth a watch. But
The next one I want to watch with Tom Holland is Chaos Walking, but I'm not 100%. I don't think that's an Apple TV Plus thing.
no, it's its own thing. I read the reviews for it. It was a movie that was in production since 2017. They did a lot of reshoots, and it's pretty much one of those like projects that has been through the ringer, so to speak, and is now just fallen flat on its backside. And I probably am not going to watch it, but I think it's kind of hilarious.
I love the fact that the first Google search when I look up Chaos Walking is Chaos Walking cancelled?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard. I mean, when you mean cancelled, do you mean like the sort of like get it off of my face cancelled, or just like they cancelled the whole
No,
thing?
it has been postponed several times. Blah 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 blah. Blah. It was meant to be out March 5th.
Mhm,
It was meant to be out March 1st, 2019, then pushed to
mhm.
2020, then pushed to, like every other film in 2020, pushed to 2021.
Yeah, I think it was gonna like definitively come out in 2020, but then obviously the pandemic happened, and they were just like, and like, I just want to see what happened behind the scenes. Where they're like, yes, we're gonna get this movie out. It's got Daisy Ridley, it's got Tom Holland, it's gonna be so good. Oh, sorry guys, oh we got a bit of an emergency here. A pandemic is happening. We have to get out of cinemas or whatever. What? But yeah, I'm probably not gonna watch it.
I kind of want to
Um,
watch it just because I want to see Daisy Ridley do something else other than whatever Star Wars made her do. That's the only reason that I want to. Like, I've seen Tom Holland in other things, like
mhm.
the Robert Pattinson one that is the long title, The Devil something or other.
Oh my God, what's it called? I loved this one too. I loved it. The Devil All the Time. Devil
Yeah,
All the Time.
I've seen Tom Holland in other things. I know Tom Holland's good. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that Daisy Ridley's bad, but I've seen her in Star Wars and Orient, and that's it.
yeah. Her career's still young. I think she's probably
Yeah,
gonna have more
I think
projects.
she needs to get more work. She seemed to be really with what she was given in Star
Mhm.
Wars. She
Yeah.
managed to do what she could with it because there was, as much as we talk about whether or not we like the sequels, blah 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 blah. Sequels are rubbish. Star Wars fans, Mister Star Wars theory, we've covered it. Blah blah blah. Kathleen Kennedy's rubbish, all that kind of stuff.
Ugh.
There was certain like lines of dialogue in the Rise of Skywalker that were a bit clunky that she did her best with.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, her career's still young. I think she's probably going to be getting more opportunities right now
Which she
because
deserves. I think that she
yeah, she
deserves. She. Wait, we're in a circle here, Sean.
yeah, like basically like Owen Rogers, Daisy really deserves the world, and I hope that she gets all the projects that she has her hands on, and I hope she can be in anything she can be. Because let me tell you, if you're the lead of a Star Wars film, your career either goes one way or the other. Because you'll get either a Harrison Ford story where they're just everywhere and they're doing a really good job. You'll probably get a Mark Hamill story where they're just like they're doing their own thing and they're still successful in their own right, or even a Carrie Fisher one where like they'll disappear for a while and do their own sort of thing,
Become
which kind of
massively addicted to drugs.
get that and then become like a respected like I don't know. Basically, Carrie Fisher is kind of a goddamn legend. This is not me being negative about it because obviously different pathways and
Different
whatnot.
strokes for different folks.
Exactly, and you get some people that are like, "Oh man, oh I feel bad for the careers of Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher," and it's like, why? Like they did well.
And they probably don't.
Like Mark Hamill did very well. Carrie Fisher, minus the sort of addiction stuff, did very well for
But
herself. Like,
even
come
with the
on.
addiction stuff, she helped a lot of people by being that famous and that open about it. So
Yeah, and like she's written her own play, her own book. She became a script doctor, a very high regarded script doctor. Like genuinely, but every time I hear people be like, "Hey, Harrison Ford did very well. The other two not so much." It's like, no, shut up. Like Mark Hamill played the
I'm
Joker.
just
How is that? How is that low on the totem
okay.
pole?
But rather than the Joker making him, he definitely made that Joker.
Oh, for sure. Like, absolutely. So whenever I hear people be like, "Oh, that sort of thing," it's like, dude, shut up. Come on. At least it's not to the degree that that kid who played young Anakin went through. Then again, I think we had like different people back in the day that weren't, massive weirdos.
Kid actors were not helped back then.
Oh, for sure. It
Debatably,
was.
they're still not helped now. But
Mm,
he definitely spiraled and is hopefully getting the help that he needs. Because I think the last story I ever heard about him was getting arrested for being drunk driving, but that's it.
oh, for sure. So I hope. So yeah. Long story short, I hope Daisy Ridley goes on to have a very fruitful career. Same as Adam Driver. Same as John Boyega. They all go on to have fruitful careers because they deserve it. We love them. Mwah, mwah, mwah. We love you all.
They were all in a movie in movies that didn't really have a coherent vibe throughout the whole thing because
Yeah.
you had Force Awakens be fun. Last Jedi was dealing more with the politics, and then Rise of Skywalker was more of a
Yeah.
I'm not maybe fun, but also like we don't know, kill him.
I call the third one. I give its own special category. I call it the oh shit quick. Let's make a nostalgic thing. I don't know. It's a longer title, but basically it has something to do with the fact that like Last Jedi came out, people weren't happy. And they're like, oh, quick, we're gonna make the fan base happy. They won't pay us their money. Quick, go! We're gonna fix everything. Quick, throw Lando in there. He'll fix it. He'll make everyone come back. You got Lando, everybody.
Yeah. Anyway, that is our show for today. We've covered
Absolutely.
everything. A quick shout out to Emily Bisson, who, if you are watching this on YouTube, you will notice that we actually have a logo.
Hmm.
And that was Emily Bisson did that rather nicely for us. Well,
Yeah.
not for free, but she did it for money. And if you like that kind of stuff, she is, I'm not sure where she is on Twitter for her art. I think she's just trashy transgender.
Yeah, I think the is at Nintendo Wii WEE, which is a good name. But yeah, for those who want a very slick and very colorful and very fast, amazing
If you look
designs.
at our logo and you like what you see and you like that
Yeah.
type of art, you can find her at Emily Beeson Art on
Mhm.
Instagram. You can find her at Nintendo. I think it's Nintendo Wii Whole
Yeah.
is Instagram. I've already said that is Twitter,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
I'm not sure what she's charging at the moment. That is for her to figure out herself. But
Yeah.
look
Well,
there. She does commissions as long as you actually pay her. If you don't pay her, why? Just pay her.
just pay the woman, will you? I mean, come on. It's not going to hurt you unless like there's some armed people at the door, and then yeah, you're in danger. Just don't do a Howard Ratner and just don't pay anyone because that's just going to cause more problems. But yeah, Emily Beeson is really talented. She makes some really good art. Shoot her a message. She'll charge you a price. Make sure you pay her, and you'll get some really good art designs and whatnot. Also she's very cool, very funny. So
She's the
thumbs up
reason
all
why
around.
we're not having guests anymore. No, we are still working on the guests. If you know us and you're listening, ask. And if neither of us like you, it'll be a no.
Yeah.
If one of us likes you but the other one doesn't, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll come to some sort of like conclusion where hopefully
If your
no
name's
fuck.
Emily, you're never coming back on again. Like,
Oh, come on.
but no, yeah, that is our show for this week. Sean, say goodbye.
Sean, goodbye. No, that was terrible. That was awful. That was
Sean,
stupid.
yeah,
Mm,
do your usual bit at the end, and then I'll sign us off.
be awkwardly autistic. Yeah, absolutely. Bye, everybody.
I have been Martin Walker, and thanks for walking around our skull this episode. I am taking down a church right now in demolition. I am very tired. I will try that again. I've been Martin Walker. That has been Sean Scullion. Thanks for walking around our skull for this
Absolutely.
episode. We will see you next time.